What is good, everybody? It's your boy Gini-MOB over here with another reaction video. Welcome back. It's Monday night. Surprise! We are going to be doing Ren Chapter 5 through 8 because, screw it. We might as well just get through this.
I tried to cling on to music in whatever ways I could during the time I was sick. During my time in Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get myself out onto the streets and I'd go busking, about once every 3 weeks or so. It was my second year in Brighton, and I remember...
I know I'm pausing it because I'm going to restart it, but how is everybody? How is everybody doing today? How is life? Everybody getting ready for the holidays? I don't know what you guys celebrate, but if you guys are welcome to share what you celebrate, just let me know. Let me know in the comments. I have to open up my phone now. I got to take a look. Got to see what people celebrate. Curious. Happy holidays. Holiday season. We all know how that is. Let's see. Anybody watching yet? Oh shit, let me turn that down. Let's see what everybody's watching. Anybody want to put it up in the comments what they celebrate? Let me know. Let's start this though, for real. Let's get into chapters 5. I'm tired. I've been working a lot of overnights. I am here to listen. Can't type at the moment. Okay, awesome. Let's watch chapter 5. Let's watch chapter 5. We're gonna go 5 to 8. All right, Chels. I guess people call you Chels, but because I have a lot of friends named Chelsea, I normally call them Chels. But let's watch this. Let's do it.
I tried to cling on to music in whatever ways I could during the time I was sick. During my time in Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get myself out onto the streets and I'd go busking, about once every 3 weeks or so. It was my second year in Brighton, and I remember one evening heading home with my guitar and my busking amp after a couple of hours of playing on the street. I remember hearing this amazing ethereal voice while heading through the lanes, and I saw that it was coming from this 16-year-old kid. I've always had a deep admiration and feeling of camaraderie for buskers. There's something about the willingness to be able to bare your soul to a street full of strangers that really moves me. I noticed that the kid didn't have an amp. He was singing totally a cappella, but you'd only hear him if you were within a few meters of him. I knew from years on the street and singing a cappella than myself that an amp can change everything. I had this compulsion to offer him mine. I approached him and I told him that if he plugged in and sang while I played guitar, the whole street would stop in its tracks. And I was right. His voice soared across the street and people started stopping. Not long after, we had the whole street's attention. Something quite magic was happening.
These damn ads. Brighton and music school? What is Brighton? Somebody let me know.
This was the first day that I met Sam Tompkins, someone who would be integral to my whole life changing later on. He had a friend with him, this guy called Connor Honeyset, who would later go on to be my manager. For now, they'd just be a couple of teenagers that I'd have to help out on my way home. It's funny how life works like that. I kept up to date with what Sam was doing on social media. There was a part of me that felt like his successes allowed me to live vicariously through someone else who lived an alternate reality where I never got sick. He was getting videos on SBTV, writing and featuring with some amazing artists, and there were quite a lot of similarities in our writing styles, and all at such a young age. I wasn't really able to do any of that stuff at the time. I was mostly bedbound with the exception of the odd day that I'd be able to go busking. It could have been very easy for that feeling to turn into jealousy, but it never did.
Merry Christmas, Angela.
I felt truly proud of him.
Well, early Christmas.
Years later, we go on to write a song together called Blind Eyed.
Shout out Mr. W Games.
The trajectory in my whole career.
From Twitch.
During this time, I was still desperately jumping from one treatment to another treatment. And now that my diet had become more limited, I was trying new diets with no luck. As the options in the alternative health world started to dwindle, I started searching for answers in the divine. In the former years, I had moments where I found myself sitting in churches.
I said Merry Christmas.
Talking in tears.
And here's Kevin. Kevin!
Trajectory in my whole career. During this time, I was still desperately jumping from one treatment to another treatment. And now that my diet had become more limited, I was trying new diets with no luck. As the options in the alternative health world started to dwindle, I started searching for answers in the divine. In the former years, I had moments where I found myself sitting in churches, talking in tears to whoever might be listening, or experimenting with energetic healing modalities like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists.
Oh my God! No, you don't need that, bro.
And treatments, the irrational.
Oh, man, they really got him thinking he's crazy over here. Nah, you ain't need that, man. You just needed the right doctor to figure out what was going on with you. My brother's going through. Well, my brother goes through stuff like this. He has he had to get discharged from the Navy because he has it's called Crohn's disease. Him and one of my best friends has it too. And like that, you're very limited to what you can eat, and if you don't follow up with it and you don't take care of yourself in time, like they end up snipping off your like little pieces of your intestines, and you constantly got to go for surgery, and it's crazy. And you'd be in so much pain, you'd be crawling on the floor. My brother goes through that, and my best friend goes through it way more because he's in his 40s, and he's really going through it right now. So like he had to have one of those like waist bags for a little bit because he couldn't really. It's crazy. It's it's a little bit of a TMI, but this stuff is real. Like people really go through stuff like this. I mean, obviously not. I know Lyme's disease and what Crohn's is like two different things, but there's very similar things, and like having to have a certain palate of what you can eat and all those different things. So I can really honestly, I've seen where he's coming from in family members and friends, and it's not a good thing. It's horrible. It's really sad.
He's like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists. Once you exhaust all rational explanations and treatments, the irrational suddenly starts looking more palatable. I had a skeptic's mind, but I had nothing to lose because there were no other good options. My friend Momoko's mother was from Japan. She aligned herself with a sect of Buddhism called the Nichiren Daishonin. They would chant a repeated phrase over and over again while holding prayer beads. The chant would go, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, over and over again. Its intention was to align you with your innate Buddhahood, to cleanse you of any bad karma and put you in alignment with your true destiny on earth, to find peace, to find tranquility. Momoko's mum gifted me with my own set of beads, and I began to chant every morning. Eventually I joined a group in Brighton after a serendipitous meeting with an incredibly eccentric, bright colourful suit-wearing piano tuner. He spotted my beads and he grinned at me and he pulled out his own. We'd sit in a small group and we'd chant for hours sometimes.
Have you ever found yourself?
I love that about him. Like he's like this young. Here's this man, this young person who's going through so much as far as his health, and he's over here just trying to. Good evening, Kami. So. Shout out Kamikam. Kamikam 1222. So what I like is like he is this person who's going through so much internally that not many people his age are going to. But at the end of the day, he's always looking for solutions, or something to give him some sort of stability. So he's even branching into other religions and other beliefs. Like he's going to Buddhism. And I honestly, when I heard him say that, and like if you like a lot of Buddhist people, like if you ever go to like places that like have like Buddhists there and stuff, they meditate a lot and stuff, and they do a lot of stomach things, and it's like breathing techniques and stuff. So I can see why he would be really interested in that with what's going on with him, to kind of help like self heal himself. He's like, and you could honestly see that he's not trusting the medical industry at this point, the pharmaceutical industry, any of that, because it's like, dude, they keep giving you all this medicine and stuff, and how where's the results? And that's, I think, what he's feeling like. Where is the results? Why ain't I getting better? What is going on with me? And he's just so lost at this point. It's like I feel horrible for him because, like, man,
suit wearing piano tuner. He spotted my beads and he grinned at me and he pulled out his own. We'd sit in a small group and we'd chant for hours sometimes. There was something comforting about trusting the course of my life and illness to an incomprehensible power outside of myself. I spoke openly in these meetings that I loved feeling part of something, but that I really struggled saying with certainty that I believed in it. This was the issue I faced with every religion I temporarily aligned myself with, looking for answers. Something in me couldn't bring myself to take ancient texts as gospel, all too aware of how man twists so-called spiritual doctrines to suit his own power-hungry pursuits.
Right.
I wanted divine proof. I sometimes screamed at the sky or the waves and begged for it. I was answered with sickness. If there was a creator, I was angry with it.
Yep.
The irony was that I envied people of faith. I felt like people who truly trusted themselves to a higher power seemed to possess a level of calm and acceptance that I didn't. One of my stranger encounters was going to see a shaman. The shaman, of course, was a middle-aged white woman in a quite nice-looking cottage in Brighton. She told me to lie down, and she proceeded to lean over my body and made noises like coughing up phlegm, while speaking an unknown ancient language that seemed to include whistling noises. After about 20 minutes of making distressed groaning noises over my back, she paused in contemplation for a while, and proceeded to tell me that I'd been killed by a sword in my past life. She made sucking noises near the supposed stab site on my chest, and then she spat into a bucket. She then placed a little stone into my hand, and she told me that I had to bury it on a high hill in Brighton.
Do you guys believe in stuff like that people can really tell people's past lives and they have the ability to foresee through people's past lives? Like, I don't know if I believe all that. Like, I've heard of people who like remember their past lives, and that's a little more believable because there's like 5-year-olds that's like, oh, yo, my body was buried right here. Like, you see the stories and stuff on Facebook, but I've never heard of somebody just touch somebody's head. Oh, Venice, 1871. Like, what? Like, I've never heard of that. Like that just sounds crazy. Like, I don't know. That's crazy. Like, that's even worse than a median. Like that.
On the next full moon. The most depressing part of this story is during the next full moon, I did indeed find a big hill, dug a small hole, and I buried the stone in it. Surprising to say, fuck all happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was this journey into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience. I located a therapist.
Wait a minute, this is the one that you got an experience from?
She made sucking noises near the supposed stab site on my chest, and then she spat into a bucket. She then placed a little stone into my hand, and she told me that I had to bury it on a high hill in Brighton on the next full moon. The most depressing part of this story is during the next full moon, I did indeed find a big hill, dug a small hole, and I buried the stone in it. Surprising to say, fuck all happened. It was this journey into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience.
What religion was this? I heard him say something about a shaman. I don't know which religion that is. I need to look into that because what
all happened? It was this journey into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience. I located a therapist online who had claimed to overcome ME herself. She specialized in it and dealt with people's past trauma, but also worked with energies like Reiki. I had to get the train to where she lived. She met me in the car and drove me inside.
That's actually possible? Liliana said, yes, it's possible. But shout out Liliana. Yes, it's possible. But the people who really can do it don't go about because it's taxing on their own energy to tap into other people's. What in the fucking Star Wars? Not a big believer of anything, but our minds can trick us into anything we are desperate. Our minds can also protect us in ways so can say that humans are humans are complicated. But yo, I mean, how do you think they made up Star Wars? I feel like people can actually do certain things beyond any other being. I mean, look at all the buildings we got in the world. We're the only species on this planet that can do it. I'm a little bit of a, I don't want to go into too much about me, but if you look up the Anunnaki, you'll know a lot about kind of like how I feel with that whole thing. Because I think, and like, I don't think somebody inventing Superman came from just somebody's imagination. I don't think Star Wars came from imaginations. This guy is actually one of the hip hop people that inspired me. Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd. Casanova Rudd is really intelligent. And he talks a lot about like Orion's belt and shit, and how Star Wars and Star Trek, the originality of it, like that it's actually based on something that is a real thing. And dude, he goes into this whole entire thing about it, and it's just like, it's ridiculous.
Silence back to hers. There was a bit of an unusual energy about her, with energies like Reiki. I had to get the train to where she lived. She met me in the car and drove me in silence back to hers. There was a bit of an unusual energy about her. I've always been really good at reading people. I can't quite explain it.
That's crazy, Lil.
But sometimes when I meet someone, it's like I have a sixth sense for whether or not they'll play a significant role in my life. This person's energy felt alien to me. When we arrived at her, she told me that she sometimes would consult with her horses about people's health conditions. It was at this moment I knew that she was probably insane. Nonetheless, I shared a lot about my life. We got into the trauma of living with sickness, what it was like to constantly mourn your own life. It was comforting at first, and it felt like a safe space, until it got a bit weird. One day she offered me a glass of water before a Reiki session, and during the session I fell into a deep sleep. When I came around, multiple hours had passed, which was peculiar for me. I usually have issues with sleeping and couldn't drift off, particularly not in unfamiliar environments. She assured me it was total normal and to get plenty of water, and I thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
Lines started getting somewhat blurry when she'd invite me for meals with her and her husband. I took it as friendliness, but I noticed that she started messaging me outside of clinic hours. One time I agreed to create music for her in exchange for...
This sounds
Oh, no, don't
so
tell me she's going to try to rip him off.
It's insane. And like, imagine how much you can do with this. It's crazy.
Please, no, that's
in
the last
exchange for
thing
some
he
extra
needs.
sessions. Not long after, I started getting strange messages in my Facebook inbox. She started telling me how she knew that all my previous songs had been about her, which they hadn't. When I dismissed this, she would sometimes message me saying that she was outside of my house, telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together.
This girl's...
To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness. So having someone in a position of trust abuse their position like this shook me.
Yeah.
And it shook my trust in therapy even more.
Oh, my God.
It shook my trust in people in general. I told her to never contact me again, and I blocked her, but she would still occasionally get through on other numbers. One time she'd phoned my mum's house relentlessly. My mum, knowing the details, told her to stop harassing me.
Man,
and
that's
threatened to get the
crazy,
police
yo.
involved after the things which...
See, I think that's like a psychological thing. Like when you open up to somebody that you begin to trust and they take advantage of your trust, and I honestly think it has to do with there's some psychos out there, and there's a lot of psychos that walk with a mask. And when you open up to a psycho with a mask, they take that as like you trust them, and then they start to trust you to let themselves go, and then they start doing all this psycho shit. Like, oh my God, that is crazy.
Went silent. This was also the year that I met my second ever girlfriend, who I'd later be engaged to for a short amount of time.
We've been there.
My little sister had already set the relationship up in her mind. She met this girl in Bristol who she got on with super well, and somehow she wingmanned me and planted the seed in her brain that she'd be perfect for her older brother, me. My sister's friend had moved to Brighton, but I was blissfully unaware of this matchmaking. At this point, I was living in a house share in Rose Hill Terrace in Brighton with some lunatics I'd met at Ben's house, and Momoko had moved down from Cornwall. The house was only meant for 2 people, but Momoko and I had pretended we were married and pretended that we were going to have a baby to be able to get it. As soon as the deed was signed, we moved in with about 5 other friends.
Shout out, Nicky.
One living in the living room, one in the attic, one in the study, one in the conservatory. It's safe to say rent was pretty fucking cheap.
Thank you, Nicky.
One night my friend Luke was throwing a party and she rocked up with a few of her friends. My sister had pretty good taste in girls and I had a crush on her instantly. At some point in the night we both ended up lying on my bedroom floor on a bunch of sofa cushions while about 6 other people were sleeping in various places in my room. One somehow in the upper compartment of my wardrobe. True story.
Oh.
She asked me to tell her a bedtime story.
What did I miss? Wait.
And I made up the most.
What did I miss?
One night my friend Luke was throwing a party and she rocked up with a few of her friends. My sister had pretty good taste in girls and I had a crush on her instantly. At some point in the night we both ended up lying on my bedroom floor on a bunch of sofa cushions while about 6 other people were sleeping in various places in my room. One somehow in the upper compartment of my wardrobe. True story. She asked me to tell her a bedtime story and I made up the most unhinged story I could think of. By some sort of miracle she found my madness endearing and we ended up kissing a lot and staring into each other's eyes till we fell asleep.
Aww.
It's strange navigating a relationship when you're sick.
Yeah.
I couldn't go out to eat at restaurants because I was allergic to everything. I didn't have the energy to do most normal things that couples do. Some days I'd be so full of brain fog that my personality disappeared, and it was hard to explain that to someone without them thinking that maybe you were just being a bit off with them.
Yeah.
I think losing Joe, losing Callum, losing the record deal, losing my last girlfriend, it had all made me wary of getting attached to good things. Quite a lot of my illness made me feel ugly.
Yeah.
And it's hard to accept love when you feel ugly. Nonetheless, she did love me, and with time our relationship grew. It was around this time I was contacted by a woman called Jennifer Breer, an incredibly inspiring woman whose journey seemed to parallel mine. She was an incredibly ambitious PhD student at Harvard who one day was struck down by a mystery illness that confined her to a wheelchair.
Wow.
She spent most of her life tirelessly searching for a way out. She was doing a Kickstarter to raise money to make a film called Canary in a Coal Mine. It would later go on to be renamed Unrest, and it would go on to win multiple awards, and it's still watchable on Netflix to this day. It's an incredibly important and very moving documentary about the horrors of living with ME. I recommend everyone checks that out.
Okay.
At the time, I started health blogging. I created a series of video diaries that I named Me versus ME. It would be a video document of my various trials with different alternative treatment approaches, and generally a look into the life of someone with a chronic illness. I didn't know it back then, but those videos would save my life. I guess I was occupying a place that was needed as quite blogging. I created a series of video diaries that I named Me versus ME. It would be a video document of my various trials with different alternative treatment approaches, and generally a look into the life of someone with a chronic illness. I didn't know it back then, but those videos would save my life. I guess I was occupying a place that was needed, as quite quickly many people in the chronic health communities gravitated towards my videos. Every day, I'd be sent messages telling the stories of the people who had fallen in between the cracks in the floorboards. There was heartbreaking stories. Stories of frustration and confusion. People mourning the people they used to be. Some who were new to this world. Some who had been there for decades. I tried to help them in whatever way I could. I tried to comfort people. In my own little way, I became somewhat of
You need to help yourself, but you helping everybody else. But the crazy thing is, it's him helping everybody else, which saves him, basically, is like what he's saying. That's crazy.
Spokesperson for the voiceless. I felt their pain like it was my own. This new pursuit gave me a sense of purpose that I desperately needed. Without purpose, I felt useless. I made a lot of friends, and I'd write to them on a daily basis. Some of those friends died. Some of those friends decided to take their lives.
Wow.
And they were wicked people. I talked to them a lot.
Oh, man.
It was this that ultimately made me decide to stop. But that wouldn't be until years later. Immersing myself in the horrors of this illness and trying to carry some of the weight for the others while I still wasn't strong enough to carry my own eventually took its toll. Jen Bria had found my videos and she asked me to make a song for her documentary. I was honoured. I wrote a song called Patience. I'll leave you with a video taken at a time to finish off this chapter.
Yeah, he couldn't go on. It's like, bro.
I've learned some lessons that will be so valuable for like. So it's a blessing and a curse being this ill because it's completely changed me. Like,
I thought a HELOC was my only option until I laid these two choices side by side and saw what I was missing. Let me break it down.
It's turned me from a little cocky teenager into somebody who's
God bless Nick.
quite this, I guess, prepared.
Oh no, don't please.
things
6 is
now.
next.
Like,
I'm scared.
I feel like once I've gone through this, I'll throw anything at me and it'll be okay. But
Wow, look how
at
young
the
he
same time,
was.
as much as
Wow, look at him. He was so young.
I feel like once I've gone through this, I'll throw anything at me and it'll be okay. But at the same time, as much as I see it as a blessing, I hate it. I do hate it. I think it was Thomas Edison that was like, I haven't failed, I've just found 1,000 things that don't work, which is kind of nice to look at it that way, like I'm just eliminating things.
And Edison,
really
Thomas Edison was a beast, yo. He's right, because Thomas Edison basically made all of this possible. If you guys know who Thomas Edison is, like Edison Records, you know, Thomas Edison created the music cylinders. He was the one that opened up music to be, you know, transmitted through the world. You know, that the first musician that was ever able to record music through a cylinder, shout out, I believe it was Enrique Caruso. And the reason they did that was because Enrico Caruso, I think it was Enrico Caruso. I don't remember. His first name may have been different. I could be wrong about the first name, but I know his last name was Caruso. He was an Italian opera singer. That's why I don't think it was Enrique. But they used an opera singer with a powerful voice because they wanted to make sure it gets through the horn that they were singing into that was being recorded by the cylinder. And actually, if you guys ever do this, if you take one of those cylinders, or even take a vinyl record, and if you take a cup and like a little sewing pin and tape it to the cup, and you just kind of like slightly place it onto the vinyl record, you'll hear the music coming through the paper cup. It's crazy. Like I did that to a Michael Jackson record, and you just like you hear this little stuff in the background, just like you know that, and I'm like, what the hell? This is working. You don't even need no electricity for it. It just picks up the sound waves off of the vinyl record.
Changes my mind, and it. I think it was Thomas Edison that was like, I haven't failed. I've just found 1,000 things that don't work, which is kind of nice to look at it that way. Like I'm just eliminating things, but it really challenges my mind.
Y'all are scaring me about this chapter 6, yo.
I say like 95% of my life in a bedroom, which kind of sucks.
Oh, he uses logic like me.
Such a different place in my body. My mind craves life so much.
It's alright, it's okay. I'm feeling brave, gonna face this day. It's okay, it's alright. No tears will kiss my cheeks tonight, and it's all good, and I'm just fine. My words ring out like hollow shells. Just slow down, it takes time, but time moves slow, I know this well. And my heart breaks 1,000 times a day.
Guy's so talented.
But for every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
Wow. This guy is so talented. Dude, who the hell needs quantizing when you got Ren? He's a walking quantizer too. He's walking autotune, walking quantizer, walking lyricist. Bro, it's fucking amazing.
This world is quite scary, I know that, cause I've been here for some time. But all that prepares me for a day when I can truly shine. Cause I've been so broken, and picking up fragments of myself, I'll glue them back together, so I can stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day.
Man.
Can you be a travel advisor without quitting your 9 to 5? Actually, yes.
I can't say I've been there, like where he is right now, like, but I've been in a studio trying to keep it together to sing something that was really important to me. And it was when I wrote this song called Narcissist, and it was to my son's mother and everything she put me through and all the stuff I had to go through to be able to have my son in my life. And like, I just remember, you know, I never thought that what I'm actually feeling could be worth something, because I never felt like people seen me and what I was worth. So when I'm sitting in a studio with this guy Radio, my producer, shout out Radio, and I'm recording this, believe it or not, when I'm recording this shit, talking about my son's mother, she calls me and is acting like literally you could hear it through the microphone and shit what she was saying from the producer booth. And the producer's looking at me like, you gonna let her, like, but he understood. He was like, you know, like, it was literally like a dad anthem, because it was like to all them single dads out there, like a dad anthem at the time that I made that. But he took, because I was like going on a rant after that. I wasn't even rapping at the time. I was just going on a rant because I was just emotionally frustrated with what my son's mother put me through. So he took all that, recorded it, and then put it on the B line and the hook of my song. I'm like, bro. But like, people, like, it's nice to know that people actually can relate to things like that. Narcissism, anything like that. And it's just like, it makes you feel not alone, and it makes them feel not alone when they're listening to somebody like you being able to put it in context on a song. But that's why I'm feeling him right now, because he's going through this. And like, I mean, yo, my brother would, I'm telling you, man, my brother would really feel this because of what he went through with having to get kicked out of the Navy and stuff. Because this, like, it's crazy when you can do this.
Back together, so I could stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day.
For every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion.
I hope he recorded this song. I would
Me,
listen to
and
this. I
although
feel
you
these
test
words.
Me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
Oh my God. That was beautiful. Man. I've been like stalking him now. Like, not stalking him. Oh wait, there's more? Bro.
And I'll take the sword of my belief.
Oh, I gotta hear the recording, yo.
And in this storm, I will not flinch.
Wow.
And I will not move. No, not an inch.
Man. Yeah, Baby Ren he's so upfront and like, this is me.
I have the strength of a mountain. I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I'll have the heart of a lion. And the stars, they burn bright inside of me. But although you test me, my
There comes the percussion.
God, I stand so
God.
proudly, can't you see? I have the strength of a mountain. And
Guy's
I'll
amazing.
take all you throw at me.
Yeah, you tell him, Ren. Yo, I've been like on his Instagram and everything. Yo, he's been posting a lot of these like on his like Instagram stories lately. Like he was doing yesterday. I was going in because he was doing the Dr. Dre album, and like he was showing his love to Dr. Dre, and I was just like, I was loving it. He started with the Tyree song that Dr. Dre made for his brother Tyree that died, and oh my God, he played those chords on the piano so beautifully. I was like, man, this is crazy. I knew what it was right when I saw it. I messaged him. And I just let him know, like, yo, this is crazy. But man, I'm getting more and more into him. So just so you know, I'll be on the Instagram peeping everything now.
Check everyone off your list at Nordstrom
If
Rack.
anybody follows me on Instagram, you guys gotta, cause like I be working a lot too. So like, y'all gotta let me know, like, if some shit's about to go down. I gotta make time for that, like, cause I know he's about to drop another tale of some sort. And I'm just waiting for that day to happen.
I'm going to try and hold it together throughout this one.
Oh, no. I could already tell, like, no. Everybody, we are going to skip. No, I'm just playing. No, I'm not ready for this. Oh my God. No. Oh.
2015 was the worst year of my life. At the end of 2014, I attended a private UK-based ME specialist clinic called Breakspear. For some reason, the treatments had sent my health nosediving, and I became more sick than I'd ever been.
Oh God, 23 minutes of
I
tears.
became so weak that I couldn't walk to the bathroom without needing to lie on the floor to recover. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't watch TV.
What'd he say?
I became so weak that I couldn't walk to the bathroom without needing to lie
I was
on the floor
talking
to
about
recover.
this last video with my brother. He can't even, bro, he literally crawls to the bath. Well, my best friend literally crawls to the bathroom sometimes. Oh, no, not Ren, please.
Couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't watch TV. All I could do there was lie there in pain. It was obvious during this time that I needed to move back home with my mum again. She moved to Cardiff with a new husband, and they had a spare room, which became my tomb for the next 8 months.
It's tomb.
At this point, I was so weak that the most that I could manage to do a day was to take a shower. The rest of the time I was confined to my bed. I started reacting even more severely to foods, so every single meal had to be blended into soups or broths to avoid negative reactions. Pain constantly shot through my shin bones and through my feet, like splinters. My stomach would gurgle, and the muscles in my body would constantly twitch, spasm, and ache. My body felt drained of every single ounce of life, and I was so tired, but I was too wired to sleep. I was so full of mental fog that reading a single page on a book seemed impossible. The daylight coming in from behind the curtain hurt my eyes. Loud sounds felt overwhelming. All I could do was wait and pray for sleep, knowing that when I woke from it, nothing would change. I wouldn't feel in any way rested, and all the symptoms would persist. This went on and on and on. It was day after day of physical and mental torture. I thought of concentration camps, of prisoners of war being tortured. At least the escape of death seemed likely. During that time I never got breaks. My whole body burned, my brain was on fire, and I had nowhere to hide. In the merciful moments where I could concentrate, I tenaciously trawled the internet, looking for ways out. My research drew me to a procedure called a fecal transplant that was having success managing things like Crohn's disease or colitis. It had also gained success in some select cases of autoimmune conditions like MS too. At the time, I felt like much of my issues were caused by dysbiosis, which means an imbalance in your gut flora. I noticed that all the food intolerances started after a large course of antibiotics for the parasite. I wondered if the parasite had wreaked havoc on my microbiome before I nuked it with antibiotics that worsened it further. Fecal transplants can introduce a whole host of probiotic bacteria into your gut, and it can re-establish a healthy homeostasis. In normal person speak, I wanted to pay to put another person's poop in my butthole.
Oh my God.
I carried on filming videos from my bed, blogging my experience. I was pretty convinced that during this time I wouldn't be alive much longer, and part of me wanted there to be some kind of document of what I'd been through in hopes that it might help someone later down the line.
Oh my God.
And if this illness does kill me, then I want this video. I want somebody who can take notice of this video.
When the temperature drops, America brings the heat with hot hands. America's
Not
favorite
now.
warmer.
Not.
And do something with it.
I had a fundraiser open to save money for the fecal transplant, which was very slowly creeping up. I needed to save $6,000 in total. I remember my girlfriend wanting to come and visit, but telling her that I didn't want her to. There are a few reasons for this. One, I was pretty sure I was going to die soon. The day before Joe died, I'd been sat with him at a pub, catching up, playing pool, cracking jokes. I'd often wondered if I'd have been hit less hard by his death if I'd been away at university when it happened.
Yeah.
For my girlfriend's sake, I wanted her to have distance from me. I also felt ugly. I felt unlovable. I was unable to communicate, and I didn't want her to see me like that. I watched my mum look thinner and more frail every day that she had to watch her son deteriorate, and I felt immense guilt. My mum would often walk in and find me either crying on the bathroom or kitchen floor, having no energy to get back into bed. She'd often sit with me and massage my feet, which always hurt, and she'd hum melodies to me like she would do when I was a little boy. During this whole time, I hadn't picked up my guitar. I barely had any sunlight touch my skin, and I lost a lot of weight. I was about 130 pounds at my lowest, about 8 or 9 stone, which for someone who is 6'1" is very skinny. My average weight is usually about 168 pounds, 12
At
stone.
6'1"?
Every day the same thing. I'd wake up in pain, eat a meal of blended vegetables and chicken, lie with my eyes closed for hours while the world seemed to spin erratically, and I'd often cry as the bones in my legs felt like they wanted to grow out and burst out of my skin. Despite this, what I didn't know is things were about to get a lot worse. Come June, I've been in bed for about 6 months straight. I've regained some energy to leave the house every now and then to go shopping for groceries with my mum, and I've finally reached my target for the fecal transplant, and my mum drove me to the clinic to get the procedure. Everything seemed to go as smoothly as it could for such a bizarre experience. I received a colonic irrigation, which was like a car wash for your colon. Actually feels pretty good. They then proceeded to put someone else's excrement in my behind. They would repeat this process for 5 consecutive days. When I got home, I realised I felt a little odd, almost manic, and I was hopeful that this meant my energy was coming back. But it wasn't a nice feeling. As the days progressed, I started to feel an innate sense that something was very wrong. It seemed my immune system was going into some sort of overdrive. My brain was buzzing, and the more time that passed, the more uncomfortable I felt. I remember early one morning, I was lying on the kitchen floor after attempting to get a glass of water. My body hurt so much that I was digging my nails into the laminate flooring, screaming, and my mum ran in and asked me what was wrong. I remember repeating, "I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go," over and over again. I felt myself falling down a deep tunnel in my mind, almost as though my entire soul was tumbling down into an abyss. When I finally crashed to the bottom, I was hit with this immense feeling of stillness and peace. I stopped crying, I sat up, and my mother looked at me, puzzled. I have not felt to this day that sort of serenity that I felt in that moment. I looked around the room and everything seemed to have gained a clarity and quality, but what was most peculiar was the feeling of stillness. There seemed to be some sort of respite from the mental torture and fog in my brain. I still to this day have no explanation for what happened. I looked at my mum, I smiled at her calmly, and I told her that everything was okay now. Her partner Michael came in, and I remember them both looking at me, perplexed. I started speaking fluidly for the first time in months, but it wasn't quite me. I was cracking jokes, being witty. My mum would laugh nervously. I remember feeling as though I was coming up off an ecstasy pill. I felt this underlying feeling of euphoria. I caught myself occasionally erratically snapping my fingers or making whistling noises in between sentences, or staring at some empty part of the room as though there was somebody there, then snapping back to the space and talking to my mum. This feeling of intense euphoria lasted about 48 hours. During this time, I'd adopted some newer strange behaviours. Everything in my room that wasn't parallel bothered me, so I had to make sure it was aligned and facing the same direction. The whistle and the finger click became a new tick, and it started rising in frequency the more time that elapsed. I also noticed that I get stuck on words or sentences when talking to my mum. For example, if I was saying a sentence like, "I'm not sure how I'm feeling today," I would sometimes get stuck on the whole sentence or just a word from it and repeat it about 30 or 40 times before I could move on to the next. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling today, feeling today, feeling today, 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 over and over. I can't really explain why, but it's like saying it carved out a safe space for me. After about 2 days, that feeling of peace and euphoria was swapped out for a feeling of immense dread and doom. I felt fear fill my body, unlike any fear that I've ever felt. I'd often wake up in the early hours of the morning screaming at the top of my lungs, a torturous scream that would fill the whole house, a scream like my legs were being sawn off. I felt pure terror. My mum would run in and try and calm me down. Sometimes I'd be thrashing, hitting the mattress, pounding the walls. It usually ended up in me exhausting myself and her stroking my head in her lap as I sobbed and repeated the same words over and over again. Everything in these moments terrified me. The compulsion to make everything parallel became a necessity. Whenever I was in the kitchen or car and the dials were facing the wrong way, it taunted me. My mum started taking me to a weekly talk therapist in hopes it would stop me from killing myself. I did catch myself researching the most painless ways to do it.
Oh my God.
I often daydreamed.
This is a hard one. This is a hard one. I'm lost for words. I'm supposed to be commentating on this and I can't. I just like, bro. Can you imagine? Man, and then his storytelling is just, you know, I feel like I'm there. Like when he's talking about his mom stroking his head and shit, I'm like, I'm feeling like I could see that.
And daydreamed about death, and it made me feel at peace. At this point, intense paranoid delusions started creeping in. I wondered if what was happening to me was demonic. I don't remember how I got there, but I remember one time speaking on the landline to someone who claimed to be an expert in dark magic. He told me that being around my mum was bad for me. He told me that she was bad. He told me that I needed to do a ritual with black wax candles in order to free myself. I remember ordering black candles from eBay, and when they arrived I had a change of heart, and I decided against doing this dark magic ritual. I fell asleep that night, and I woke up the next day to find the candles totally melted onto the white mantelpiece that they were on. They'd never been lit. I still don't really know for certain if anything of these things happened, but the melted wax was definitely real. I remember picking it off with my nails. There were moments that my rational mind knew that I was hallucinating. Sometimes in the night I would hear perfect string quartet symphonies with no sound source for them to be coming from. I remember one time my mum took me with her to the post office because during this time I'd rarely been left in the house alone. I remember the lady behind the till reaching for some sellotape. As she tugged on the tape, it sounded as though it had been amplified 1,000 times. It was deafeningly loud. I ran out of the store crying and shaking, and I sat in the passenger seat of my mum's car, rocking back and forth, where she found me uncontrollably sobbing, repeating the words, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, over and over again.
Imagine, and it's
My
like,
paranoia
and
grew.
he's still fighting. And he's like, I can't do this, and he's in there shaking. Literally, his body is in so much pain. Can you imagine just like you literally? It's like you're laying there and you can't even sleep because you're just in immense freaking pain, and it's like, and he's holding on and he's holding on and he's holding on and he's holding on, and it's like, how much longer can this poor guy hold on for? And it's like, thank God he made it through, but it's just, oh. I can't. This is
Seat of my mum's car, rocking back and forth, where she found me uncontrollably sobbing, repeating the words, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, over and over again. My paranoia grew. I boomeranged between thinking I may have been latched onto by some demonic entity, and I became suspicious of even my own family, to thinking I might be part of some sort of twisted experiment, where a group of observers were seeing how far they could push me before I snapped and shattered.
I've felt
My
that
irrational
before.
mind concluded that if I start behaving in unexpected ways, I might confuse the people conducting this experiment, and they'd shut it down. I'd sit in my own bed manically grinning in response to the jolt of pain in my legs. I'd say things to Mum and Michael which made no sense at all. This all seemed to be leading up to a very unusual day. I can't quite recall the details of how it happened because it was quite tricky to tell what was reality and what was not. But from what I remember, I was in the car with my mum, parked outside a supermarket, and I'd put my laptop on the roof of the car while I'd helped her with groceries. I'd forgotten it was there, and she drove off. It wasn't until about an hour later I noticed, and I started panicking. My laptop had on it hundreds of songs from my time in Brighton. It was all I had really to show for my life.
No.
I was already in such an emotionally fragile space that losing that felt like some sick, torturous joke. We drove back and searched every place it
Bro,
could
that's
be
like
with no
all
luck.
that was he
As we were
lived with
driving-
that. Like he lived with that. How does it just Oh. I lost my damn laptop too, and I felt that hopeless. That was the one thing I had just to live with. The one thing where I got all my shit out, and I didn't feel alone because I had the music that I made, and I lost that, bro. All hope just feels gone.
Home, my mum pulled up at a junction, and something in me, it was all I had really to show for my life. I was already in such an emotionally fragile space that losing that felt like some sick, torturous joke.
Right.
We drove back and searched every place it could be with no luck. As we were driving home, my mum pulled up at a junction, and something in me snapped. I got out of the car and I ran away from it. I convinced myself this was still part of the experiment, because what else could explain that sort of luck?
Right, like,
Once I got far
can you
enough away,
imagine just sitting there like you lost the shit, and everywhere y'all turned up, y'all couldn't find one of the most important things to you at that moment, because you literally didn't feel like you could trust anybody because you were so sick, and it felt like everybody was playing games with you. And literally everywhere you go to try and find that laptop, like, it wasn't coming up. So y'all just pulling up at garage sales and shit. And he's just like, man, fuck this. Like, yo, God.
We drove back and searched every place it could be with no luck. As we were driving home, my mum pulled up at a junction, and something in me snapped. I got out of the car and I ran away from it. I convinced myself this was still part of the experiment, because what else could explain that sort of luck? Once I got far enough away, I proceeded to strip off all my clothes, and I lay in the middle of a road staring up at the sky, laughing in hysterics. This was the opposite of how one should react to losing their computer, and so it seemed like the perfect way to confuse my observers. With time, the police showed up, as did my mother. By some miracle, she convinced them not to take me in or section me, and by a further miracle, they also relayed to my mum that a dented laptop had been handed in an hour earlier. I took this as meaning my experiment had worked. I eventually snuck off as my mum was talking to them. I wandered slowly around this unfamiliar village until I encountered the second angel I would meet in my life, this time in the form of a black homeless man. I'm not sure how we got there, but as I was walking, I turned to my side, and a man dressed in tattered grey clothes was walking beside me. He asked me what was wrong, and I explained the best I could the events of the day. I explained that I'd been sick a very long time, that I was tired, so tired, and that I just wanted to be better.
We are being hunted by a giant.
Imagine, man, you just, and you don't feel like anybody understands what you're going through. Man, it's that cold. It's that cold over in y'all are in UK, right? Is that cold over there? Man.
The homeless man paused. He put his hand on my shoulders and he stared into my eyes. His eyes had a light grey tint. They were almost white, and something about his presence made me feel incredibly safe, incredibly still. He smiled, a kind smile, and he said to me, "Everything's going to be okay, Ren." And then he vanished. I hadn't told him my name. I never hallucinated anything after that day. I have no real explanation for that day. I chalk it down to a psychotic episode or stress-induced hallucination, but the events which follow put a lot of questions in my mind.
40 in Florida?
What he said to me was very simple, but also very needed. I realise a lot of people might hear these stories and just presume I'm a bit mad, a bit weird, like I do when people tell me their ghost stories. All I can do is tell you my experience and let you derive your own conclusions from it. Anyway, I got home and I started to obsessively research ways to escape this new seemingly psychotic space I was in. It's a strange thing to describe, but it was like me, Ren, was in the passenger seat of my mind while some other entity was steering the ship. I was watching myself do things like scream at night or repeat words over and over, and I think to myself, damn, that's pretty crazy. But I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Every now and then I had moments of lucidity where I was more in control. I was doing things like stimming. I had night terrors, vocal tics, I'd stutter and I'd stammer. And for me, a lot of that lined up with some sort of transitory or stress-induced autism. I'd known a family with an autistic teenager, and some of the behaviour seemed to line up, which led me to a new pathway of online research. I came across this support group for a subset of children with autism called PANDAS, P-A-N-D-A-S. It was believed that these kids had the neurological infection of the Streptococcus bacteria that was causing these autistic-like behaviours. I was presenting with some similar behaviours. These kids would do long courses of antibiotics and their symptoms would diminish or disappear, and they'd be seemingly normal children again. I speculated that the fecal transplant introduced a whole host
coming
of
from
new
somebody
bacteria
that lives in a neurodiverse house, man, we ain't normal. I could say that much. We all, like, since I was a kid, I had it. I mean, I won't go into it, but I have low spectrum autism. Well, it was called Asperger's at the time, but it's like low spectrum. Both my kids got it, and yeah, it's like both my kids got it. My girl got it. All my siblings got it. It's we ain't normal, bro. I'd say that. I mean, but thing is, I don't remember having like antibacterial things. I mean, my son does have night terrors a lot. Both my kids have night terrors at times, and I gotta, it's actually my 4-year-old had a febrile seizure a couple months ago, and I was in tears. I was literally in tears because I don't even. If y'all saw the video, because I really didn't know what was going on with him, and it was, because my 4-year-old is like that's my biological kid. That's my first kid. So you know, I met my stepson when he was 6. So, you know, raising my 4-year-old and learning all these things, you know, it was really frustrating for a father to look at his child unresponsive, shaking and looking and foaming from the mouth and just tweaking the fuck out from having a febrile seizure. And I really didn't know. I really didn't know how to respond to it. I was in utter tears, you know, and yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, definitely when we, like, you know, kids with autism, they do go through some things. And I remember one time I got sick, I was really sick. So we're very sensitive. I will say that.
I was presenting with some similar behaviours. These kids would do long courses of antibiotics and their symptoms would diminish or disappear, and they'd be seemingly normal children again. I speculated that the fecal transplant introduced a whole host of new bacteria into my gut, but that I didn't have the immune regulation to be able to control it, and it had sent my entire system into some sort of inflammation overdrive. I researched the most effective antibiotic for streptococcus, one being penicillin, and I convinced my mum to take me to the doctor, where I faked the
They
stomach
really
bug.
are terrifying. Mr. W Games from Twitch. No, they are mad terrifying. It's I was in tears. It was my first experience with it and I didn't know what to do. So now whenever my kid has fevers and stuff, I'm like, nope, we got to bring his fever down. I ain't playing with this. Get the cold towel, do whatever we got to do. I'm not letting that kid try to fight a fever off without us doing any work to make sure that fever goes down, because I don't want to see that ever again.
Into my gut, but that I didn't have the immune regulation to be able to control it, and it had sent my entire system into some sort of inflammation overdrive. I researched the most effective antibiotic for streptococcus, one being penicillin.
Shout
and
out to your
I convinced my
son.
mum to take me to the doctor, where
Thank
I
you
faked
for
the
his
stomach
service.
bug. I lied to him, and I said I'd had similar things in the past, and the penicillin cleared it right up. He reluctantly prescribed me a 2-week course of antibiotics because I was so persistent.
Look at the.
And I started the
Now that he's talking about it, he feels like he found a solution. You could hear the relief in his voice. You can really hear that he feels relieved at this point. He's like, this is it. This is all I needed. Like, what?
course. Initially, I felt fucking awful.
Well, yeah.
Somehow, even more tired than usual. And then towards the end of the course, I noticed a definite shift in my energy and comfort. By the end of the course, my psychotic behaviours had disappeared and my energy felt a lot better. I stayed indefinitely on various herbal antibiotic supplements like oregano oil at this time, having learned that this was also active against certain pathogenic bacteria. Keep in mind also, I'm just going off script right now, keep in mind if I'd have followed the advice of most of the doctors that I'd seen at the time who were talking to me about my psychotic behaviours, I would have probably been put into a mental facility and medicated with medication that I didn't need, and would have probably gotten a lot worse.
Right, because you wasn't a mental
condition.
condition.
Lucky that I took the no one tells you that antibiotics can treat psychosis, and these antibiotics did actually treat my psychosis. And I was no stranger to the placebo effect. I'd taken everything.
I mean, I
that
wouldn't
wasn't
be
placebo.
surprised though, like if he is neurodivergent, because cause even Nikki said, like, it's not like we're spicy, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Like we think, like, you see his big interest in music and how talented he is in that, and he's really cares about his craft. I'm not saying you got to be autistic to be like that, but having Asperger's, that's how I've been with like vocabulary and words and writing things down and really, really focused on my craft and perfecting it and getting better and really obsessed with figuring out how to better that part of me. My 4-year-old, I notice, is the same way with the alphabet and colors and all these different things. And it's very when you have Asperger's and stuff like that, you just take really big interests into your craft over like communication and things like that. It's crazy.
It didn't matter.
That's what I have too. I have Asperger's and ADHD. I don't talk about it, but yeah, I have Asperger's and ADHD. That's crazy. I didn't even know that he had that. That's why I could feel what he's saying. We call it ADHD. Like, Yeah. So I know all about that. I got a whole neurodivergent house.
Treat psychosis, and these antibiotics did actually treat my psychosis. And I was no stranger to the placebo effect. I'd taken everything, it wasn't placebo. It didn't matter. After about a week, I'd finished the course, and some of my more familiar symptoms like fatigue and pain started creeping back again. But that didn't matter, because what this whole experience had taught me was that the origin of my sickness was in fact bacterial, and it was pathogenic.
Oh, okay.
The biggest thing it taught me was I could actually do something about it. I was no stranger to the placebo effect after years of trialing different drugs and supplements. This wasn't placebo.
You're getting closer.
I took to the internet again and found a world-renowned specialist over in Brussels who was also leading a lot of the cutting-edge research for ME. I got on the phone and made an appointment. He was booked up for the next 9 months, but that gave me enough time to save money. The antibiotics and new herbs I was taking had also given me a new lease of life, and the hope for a cure made me more determined than ever. I started having enough energy to go on walks, which was huge for me at the time.
Yeah.
My dad would drive over to my mum's and we'd go out in the car, and I'd take photos of wildlife on beaches. I was picking up my guitar again after months in bed. I eventually invited my girlfriend over and made the decision to move back to Brighton as soon as I was strong enough to. It was around this time that I started working on the album Freckled Angels. I knew that the future tests weren't going to be cheap. I pulled together some old tracks from the days I was working with Sony, and I got hold of Eric and asked his permission to release them, which he graciously granted, so thank you, Eric. I then pulled together some newer material and compiled my first ever album from my bedroom. In those days, I had no real way of promoting myself and no energy to do shows, so it was mostly to be listened to by my friends and family. I named the album Freckled Angels after Joe. Joe was covered head to toe in freckles, and it seemed fitting to dedicate this work to one of the coolest and funniest people I ever knew. Any ounce of energy I did have from my limited reserves, I'd pour into recording that album. It's by no means a work of art, and it's a bit thematically disjointed, but some songs like Crutch or Pocket Full of Pain went a long way to photographing that time. I'm gonna leave you with a recording of Pocket Full of Pain. Back in those days. Enjoy.
Cool.
I like making my podcast. I
Damn
don't
ass, bro.
like
I wanna hear a Pocket Full of
making
Pain.
short
Come on,
clips
man.
of
I
my
wanna see you.
podcast. So the AI
I watch the sun when it rise, when it's climbing the sky. I sit here with the pocket full of pain. I've got tears in my
wait a
juice, in
minute.
my mind. There's a noose, but my hope makes me cling to.
Is that a Newman TLM 103? That's the... Oh my god, bro. That's the freaking microphone I want. Wait a minute. Because our microphones, like, there's a competition between these mics. I'm such a fucking nerd. So this is the microphone I have. I don't know. This is called the AKG C214. But the TLM, that's a Neumann. It's called Neumann. The Neumann TLM 103 is a great ass microphone. That's why, because he has like a good like tenor voice, and that TLM is so good for picking up the bright part of his vocals. I'm so jealous right now.
I watch the sun when it rise, when it's climbing the sky. I sit here with the pocket full of pain. I've got tears in my juice, in my mind. There's a noose, but my hope makes me cling to the day. I wanna run with the sun and the moon and the stars till I'm running faster than my pain. I wish I could breathe out this fear, this doubt, send it into the Milky Way. I got my finger on the trigger of a Magnum 44, but survival instinct won't let me bleed.
Right.
I wanna put a bullet straight in my cerebral tissues place, but my index finger won't let me squeeze. I wanna skate down my vein with the blade till the blood runs thicker than the thoughts in my head. But don't ask me why, this is not my goodbye, it's a suicide failure attempt.
Oh my God.
I choose life, I choose life, I choose living. Put the bottles and the pills down. I stand up, I breathe with precision. Calm washes over me like a break in the storm. I close my eyes for a minute, then my troubles transform. And I travel deep into the corners of my mind. I remember the first time I felt hopeless. I think I was 5, cause at the hands of this bully, the lessons that I learned is that this world is not so beautiful. Sometimes it can be burnt by the fires of evil that are living inside the common people just like you and like I. We'll all strive to survive, and we all climb to the top over our brothers and sisters, whether we mean to or not. And we get lost in the tide of insecurities and power-seeking fooleries, but happiness don't live inside no jewelleries. In an age of distraction, we would rather tap on our iPhones than stop a war from happening. It's heartbreaking, Satan's patiently waiting for us to mess up big time, so hell on earth will be blatant. So forgive me for wanting to blow my brains out, but I've got a change of heart. It's time for change now, rearrange now, fist in the sky. I say proud, say loud, revolution word on my brain now. It's with the people, yeah, power's with the people. If the people strive for unity, the world it could be equal. You could be the start of the beginning, a dawn of no stress, no troubles, no sinning, just living. So overthrow evil and greed, put aside your distractions, welcome change with me, welcome change with me, welcome change with me, welcome change, welcome change, welcome change with me, welcome change with me, now welcome change with me, now welcome change, welcome change, welcome change with me. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow. That was a hard one. I'm surprised I made it through. But man, when he was recording that, man, his voice, I love the reverb he put in that. Yeah, he put that through a sub bus. I'm talking like a geek now, but no, he put it through the sub bus. That reverb hit hard. He put it in like a small room reverb. I love that. That dude, that just resonated his voice so much more, and it added the pain to what he was saying, and kind of like I could feel the pain in what he was saying, how he was saying it, and then it almost just felt like the reverb was just leaving all of that, everything he was saying in the air.
Can you be a travel advisor without quitting your 9 to 5? Actually, yes. We're Fora, the modern
Next
travel
one,
agency,
7.
and we are empowering anyone with a passion.
Now we're about
Before
to see
he
the
even had
better
the test results,
hopefully.
the doctor in Brussels glanced up from the form he'd asked me to fill out, and he said, "You have Lyme disease. We can run the tests, but I'm certain of it." I'd heard of Lyme in passing during my hours trawling the internet, but I'd never spent long diving into it. It was an extremely rare disease in the UK that you can get from tick bites, so it never really came across my radar. I sat there, puzzled for a moment. I said, can I get better? He said that many people go on to recover, some don't. Right. I wanted to ask him so many questions, but my mind at that moment was totally blank. The test results eventually came back, sure enough, positive for Lyme, and the co-infection Bartonella, along with many other biomarkers which suggested autoimmunity and immune dysfunction. My whole life, I'd been waiting for this moment. To have something printed on a piece of paper that showed that I wasn't actually fucking crazy. That I could shove in the faces of anyone who'd made me feel like a hypochondriac or like a head case. But when the moment finally came, I felt numb. It was hard to rejoice. I had the lingering PTSD from the psychotic meltdown the year before, which made it pretty hard to break into the realms of happiness. Instead, I did what I always do. I got home, and I took to the internet, and I researched the best ways to escape. The summer that I got sick, I spent 2 weeks camping in a small festival in Dorset. One night, me and friends decided to climb a nearby hill to build a bonfire in the woods. On the way there, the fields were full of long grass and deer. 3 people, all my age, who all attended that festival came down with ME or fibromyalgia-like symptoms over the course of the next year. One was a friend of the family who was shut in a dark room for years because the light would be too intense for him. Before that festival, he was bursting with life, a successful capoeira dancer, reduced to a zombie. Lyme disease seemed to be as much of a medical labyrinth as ME was. On one side, there was a whole host of specialists who believed Lyme bacteria becomes chronic, evades the immune system response, can sometimes evade testing, and leads to debilitating symptoms unless treated with a long course of antibiotics. On the other side were doctors who claimed that Lyme can't persist. It's easily treatable with a 2-week course of doxycycline, and further symptoms following that must be due to an autoimmune response triggered by the Lyme, or perhaps an unrelated, undiscovered cause. I educated myself as best I could on all theories, trawling through research papers on PubMed, conversing people in support groups, often contacting leading Lyme scientists via email or phone to ask them questions. Lyme disease is caused by Borrelia, a spirochete bacteria that causes symptoms like extreme fatigue, confusion, joint pain, heart problems, digestive issues, anxiety, depression, and in extreme cases, hallucinations. So everything was adding up.
Yep.
I fell down internet rabbit holes of learning how Borrelia produces outer membrane vesicles, which contain outer surface proteins which can modulate your entire immune response, essentially dampening it for its own survival. It was a truly insidious pathogen, a smart one out of a twisted horror sci-fi. There would be online groups claiming it was created in a lab in Plum Island off America and weaponized. Due to the widespread suffering it seemed to cause, and given how hard it was to treat, it was easy how to see.
This scene,
it was easy.
Where was this from? I don't know what this scene was from, but seeing that astronaut thing in there, it makes me think of Resident Evil 3. I don't know if y'all ever watched the Resident Evil movies, but those movies kick ass.
It was a truly insidious pathogen, a smart one out of a twisted horror sci-fi. There would be online groups claiming it was created in a lab in Plum Island off America and weaponized. Due to the widespread suffering it seemed to cause, and given how hard it was to treat, it was easy to see how people gravitated towards these sorts of superstitions and speculations. The main thing that made my head swim was the sheer number of treatment options, in part a byproduct of the cognitive dissonance in the medical industry at the time. There were countless antibiotic protocols, herbal protocols, immune system modulating protocols, wackier ones where people would be stinging themselves with bees or swallowing certain helminth parasites to modulate their immune systems. It was a wild west, and I wasn't so naive to be unaware that there were a lot of quacks in that space selling people snake oil, financially taking advantage of desperation. Like a lot of the medical industry, I despise people and companies who see opportunity to profit from other people's misery. If you're watching this video and you're one of those people, I would highly consider switching your role in the world and being on the right side.
Facts, man.
One common factor a lot of these protocols seemed to share was you would certainly get a lot worse before you got any better. There was something called the Jarisch-Herxheimer reaction. As you kill off the pathogens in your system, they release biotoxins in your body, which are eventually cleared out by your kidneys and liver. These can cause systemic inflammation, additional fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, pain, flu-like feelings. I was no stranger to these things already, but when they got even worse, it was a mental battle.
It's like
I sought out as many success stories.
What the hell just happened? It's like getting a
As I could, and I looked for common threads in the ones and the people who made the full recovery.
It's like getting one of those shots, like if you go get like a COVID or like, you know how your kids get like their shots and stuff. Well, I don't know how the shots are in UK, but like where I live, like my son had to get all these damn vaccines. But like when he would get like 3 shots, like, you know, especially when he was a baby, like it puts part of whatever virus it's trying to create, like a, you know, like a cure, like not like a cure for, but like to make you like be able to sustain from the virus going into the future. So like it puts a little bit of that in them, and then like, you know, you would get fevers and shivers and shit for a whole day. So basically like it'll get worse before it gets better. So they're injecting you with something, it's gonna make you feel like whatever, and it's gonna make you worse before you're able to get better and be able to withhold from the virus. But I mean, that's kind of like what it made me think of.
Like feelings. I was no stranger to these things already, but when they got even worse, it was a mental battle. I sought out as many success stories as I could, and I looked for common threads in the ones and the people who made a full recovery. It seemed like long courses of antibiotics were working for some people, but to do it safely I needed to be in the care of a specialist. The NHS were fucking useless. After multiple appointments, one with an infectious disease specialist, they told me the most they could give me was a couple-week course of doxycycline. I knew that probably wouldn't be enough.
Man,
they told me
you need the hood. Nah, I'm just playing. I was gonna say he need the hood.
The NHS were fucking useless. After multiple appointments, one with an infectious disease specialist, they told me the most they could give me was a couple-week course of doxycycline. I knew that probably wouldn't be enough. They told me chronic Lyme wasn't something that they recognised. I presented them with printouts of much of the research I'd gathered online for the most recent studies, which they dismissed. One of them told me I seemed obsessed, and they asked me if I thought about getting a hobby. I fantasized about dragging him by his tie across his desk and pressing a stapler into his skull. Then I politely got up and left. Doxycycline would lead to improvements for a short time frame, and then my symptoms would come creeping back. I tried many antibiotic and herbal approaches to treat the Lyme without much luck. I tried things like Rife treatment, which is essentially running an electromagnetic pulse through your body in hopes it will kill the bacteria. I was desperate.
Damn.
It seemed that America took Lyme disease far more seriously than the UK, which...
Holy shit. He literally vaulted himself? Did I hear that right?
asked me if I thought about getting a hobby. I fantasized about dragging him by his tie across his desk and pressing a stapler into his skull. Then I politely got up and left. Doxycycline would lead to improvements for a short time frame, and then my symptoms would come creeping back. I tried many antibiotic and herbal approaches to treat the Lyme without much luck. I tried things like Rife treatment, which is essentially running an electromagnetic pulse through your body in hopes it will kill the bacteria.
Oh, like a stem?
I was desperate.
No, it's probably
It seemed
more
that
powerful
America
than a
took Lyme disease far more seriously than the UK, which made sense as it was far more prominent there. I settled on a doctor called Dr. Jemsek over in Washington, and when I could...
Most dogs that we have normally end up dying from Lyme disease. Not most dogs, but a great number of dogs.
I would busk or I'd sell music online to raise money. My girlfriend at the time also ran a fundraiser, and my mum said that she'd also help contribute towards flights. It's not easy being sick and broke, but somehow we made it work. A week before I was due to fly out, something happened which changed my whole life. I've always been a believer in the good that you're putting out in the world coming back to you. Luck, therefore, is more of a karmic consequence. When I was making video blogs, I wasn't doing it to build a following or for any sort of social merit or personal gain. I was doing it because I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
I was doing it because I wanted to feel like I'd left some sort of positive mark on the world, like I'd helped. I remember waking up one morning and going through the comment section of the latest video I'd posted, only to find a message from a British doctor who is running a clinic over in Germany in Los Angeles. He is the third and final angel of this story. He was reaching out to offer to help, and he didn't want anything in return. We exchanged messages and ended up jumping on a video call together. The angel explained that he sympathized with my story. His son was a musician, and at his clinic he'd seen firsthand the countless times the destruction that Lyme disease was causing. He explained his clinic was involved in cutting-edge stem cell procedures and seeing promising results for various autoimmune and Lyme patients. The cost of the procedure was upwards of $25,000, something that I could never afford. But he said that every year he personally selected patients to attend his clinic for free.
Imagine.
He would offer me the...
Yeah, to save your life, it's going to cost what you don't have. Oh, man. It's literally like standing on like a giant stilt, and you just got like a little 3-year-old down there who wants like, you know, a fucking lollipop, and you just holding it up in the air. Like, they can't get it. Like, y'all just teasing people. Like, bro, like, what?
Treatment free of charge. All he wanted me to do was document my experience. It made sense to me that if Borrelia was able to modulate the immune system for its own survival, that an intervention that focused on immunological homeostasis would help. The clinic also offered antibacterial IVs targeting the Lyme and various other treatments intended to build the body back up after years of chronic health complications. I was kind of in shock. When a stranger reaches out and offers something so generous, it's natural to doubt his intentions, but something told me to trust this kind offer. I really had nothing to lose, and as morbid as it sounded, my willingness to die made it easy to throw myself into a more experimental procedure. There was also some security in the fact that he wanted me to document my experience and share it with the world. If it had been more sinister, surely he wouldn't want that sort of exposure.
Right.
I decided that I'd still go to the initial consultation with Dr. Jemsek as I'd raised the money, but I would catch a flight to LA once it was done. Money was still an issue. The entire treatment length was about 6 weeks, and back then I could have never afforded the accommodation for that long. I decided to hop on Facebook, and I found a Lyme support group based in LA. There, I found people going through the treatment at the clinic who were happy to put me up in their guest rooms. Despite all our faults, human beings' ability to empathize, lift up strangers, and collectively solve problems purely because it's the right thing to do is such a beautiful characteristic to carry. I sincerely hope that we can find ways to hold on to our own empathy and humanity as we step into the future. I believe these traits will save us as a species. Survival of the fittest is a myth in a society where we have all our basic needs met. It becomes survival of those willing to cooperate. The time came and I flew out to America with Momoko, keeping me company and keeping an eye out in case my health crashed. I went to the initial consultation in Washington, D.C. They recommended that I get on a minimum of a year-long course of various antibiotics and supplements, some to be rotated. I saw this as my fallback plan
I'm
if
sorry,
the
I
stem cells...
missed something.
The time came and I flew out to America with Momoko, keeping me company and keeping an eye out in case my health crashed. I went to the initial consultation in Washington, D.C. They recommended that I get on a minimum of a year-long course of various antibiotics and supplements, some to be rotated. I saw this as my fallback plan if the stem cells didn't work.
Fanatic Sportsbook Fan Cash explained by Libby Dunn on a blocking sled.
We always give up to 10% fan cash on your bet.
We then headed to LA. It was summertime, so it was boiling. The clinic was based in Beverly Hills. The juxtaposition of spending most of my life in waiting rooms that were falling apart, feeling like a defective product on a conveyor belt that's being rushed along only to be dismissed, to then go into being in what felt like a 5-star health spa where there seemed to be a genuine care and interest for my well-being, was quite odd. I was greeted enthusiastically by the doctor. He seemed a lot younger than his age. When I mentioned this, he laughed and he said it was the stem cells. As we spoke, I could see his childlike enthusiasm for what they were doing at the clinic. Stem cells were very in vogue at the time. There was also much territory to explore, and the potential of what they could offer harder to treat diseases was incredibly exciting and promising. It was hard not to feel some of that contagious excitement leaking from the doctor. He explained that because I've been sick and misdiagnosed for so long, it wasn't going to be easy. There was no magic fix. At times I might feel like giving up, but I should trust the process. So I did.
So yeah, because like he was saying, where he lives, it's not. What he has where he lives, it's not a big thing. So it was a lot harder for the doctors to be able to figure out that he was going through that, as where in other places like America it was a lot easier, so people catch it more quick. Like this one girl I knew that used to come hang out with me, it was one of my friends. She was like, I remember I found her when she first had Lyme's disease. I don't know how long she had it for, but she used to just want to go hang out with me and do some crazy stuff. She was like goth, and we would like, her and her friends, we would all go to haunted shit and just do a bunch of crazy shit. It almost felt like she was just preparing for the worst, and she had a bottle of medication she had to take with her, but she knew she had Lyme's disease. So
when we first arrived, I was staying on the floor of a young couple's apartment. They were just starting treatment at the clinic. Fontaine was a songwriter and he was an actor. One night he asked me if I liked bikes, and then he took me out on the back of his Harley Davidson and drove at high speed through the hills surrounding LA. It was interesting talking to Fontaine about her experience. I'd found people I could relate to online, but very rarely did I meet people in person whose experience had mirrored my own. She'd also been through the ringer of misdiagnoses, medical dismissal, left to suffer, trying desperately to claw back her own life. I started to realize this problem wasn't localized to the UK. It was global. So many people were going missing and screaming into a void. The first week at the clinic was aimed at building my body back up. I would sit for hours while various vitamins and nutrients were dripped into my body to address any deficiencies that may have occurred from years of being sick. Wow. They also offered talk therapy, lymphatic drainage massage, ways to calm your nervous system that would aid healing. I was still having to pinch myself that this was all free. I felt guilty for the people who had to pay. It wasn't easy. Occasionally I'd have an immune reaction to one of the IV drips.
Man,
I didn't know at the time, but
I guilty because, bro, coming from somebody that live here, I mean, yeah, we pay for Medicaid and Medicare and taxes, and you know, it goes to things like that, but at the end of the day, you know, you matter. Like, I mean, either way, they were taking taxes out of me, whether you went through that treatment or not. So the fact that something good came out of it, like you being able to, you know, be saved and get better and be able to make music still, like that's very important. I'd rather, I know it's worth it because I'm really into your stuff and I'm very inspired by you. You're a very motivational person. You come from a very rough story, so don't ever feel guilty because other people are paying taxes just like we do every day, but that money from there went to saving someone like you. Don't ever feel guilty about that, man. You shouldn't have to feel guilty. That's nah. You're too important to feel guilty for that.
Mast cell activation.
Look at how many lives you saved and how many people you've inspired just by being here. Like,
syndrome, which meant my body would become highly inflamed in response to many food, vitamins, even things like perfumes or scents from everyday cleaning products could set it off. A year later, while in the German clinic, I would be minutes away from nearly dying after going into anaphylactic shock during an IV drip. A nurse luckily caught me in the nick of time and injected me with an EpiPen. I spent a night in the emergency ward with Germans who couldn't speak a word of English, who put me on an electrolyte drip that made me feel even worse. During the second week in LA, I moved places to stay with another couple. The husband had been a prop and set designer for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They were extremely generous with their time and space and became almost surrogate parents to me and Momoko. There is an unusual companionship you feel with someone who has faced similar levels of suffering as yourself, like an unspoken bridge of understanding. At the time, I was having difficulties with my girlfriend. I wanted her to come with me to LA, as this felt like a pretty pivotal moment.
Her says Ren is still not fully better and will never be. Well, I mean, hopefully he's able to at least live a lot more comfortably without having to think about death every day. I mean, at least I'd hope that with all this treatment he's getting and stuff, they have to be helping him. They have to be being able to slowly but surely just kind of put him into recovery. I really hope that happens.
In my life, it was a time where I really just wanted to feel safe, but she couldn't take the time off work. I think I felt a little bit funny about the fact Momoko had made the time and sacrificed her own work and she hadn't. She was being distant with me whenever we spoke on the phone, which frustrated me more and more. We ended up arguing a fair bit. I think this is the beginning of seeds that would soon grow into finding it extremely difficult to be in relationships in general. I usually feel pretty unlovable, extremely isolated, very antisocial. I felt alienated, often bitter that most people go through their lives not knowing what it's like to hurt every day, that they didn't appreciate the freedom their bodies allowed them as they should. To be alive and to not hurt is a blessing. To be alive and not hurt is all I want.
Mm-hmm.
The day of the stem cell transplant finally arrived, and I was nervous, as you would be getting a giant fucking metal rod shoved into your skin.
Oh my God.
The doctors offered me an anti-anxiety med, and I was never one to turn down free drugs. With autologous stem cell transplant, they take cells from your own fat, centrifuge them, and then do some magic science shit and then feed them back to you in an IV. To acquire these cells, they have to do liposuction. The issue was I was already skinnier than a shadow on a cloudy day. They would usually take the fat from the stomach, but as I had virtually no body fat, they had to go in through the back near my coccyx. They spent about 20 minutes sawing away at your insides and separating your muscle from fat. Then they inject you with a liquid that breaks it down and they suck it back out, fresh for the stem cell harvest. There's a video of me drugged up and laughing as a needle as big as my forearm gets rammed into my back.
Wow. That's crazy.
I returned home pretty bruised up, but full of hope.
Like they're digging for gold.
Yeah, the volume of that changed. I thought somebody came in. I was like, what the hell? That is crazy. Look at that bruise. Oh my God.
And
on his side too.
So I'm pretty kind of bruised up. I've got these two little holes here where they took the stem cells out and they put them back in my arm. You can't really see on this camera because the light's too much, but I've got more holes in my arm than a Scottish heroin addict.
I'd met people at the clinic who were further along the process than me, who were singing the praises of how much better they felt. For the first 3
I had that. Well, those two needles in my in the bottom of my back. I had that happen to me. I almost died last year. I got ran over. I'm lucky to be alive. But and that was the second year in a row that I've been in a car accident because I was driving on the street. It's called Lemoyne Avenue, and it's like right before you get onto the bridge to go into New York City from Jersey. And as I was pulling up on a yield sign, some big car ran right into me from the back, knocked me out unconscious. I woke up in the hospital, and ever since then I've had like a lot of lower back issues. So I've been going to pain management and stuff, and my back is always in pain. It's like I always got to constantly crack my back. It hurts like hell. And I've been going to immense pain management therapy. But yeah, like, you know, every 6 months, it's crazy because, you know, it either gets better for a while or it doesn't. And like you'll go and you'll lay down and they'll put this they put this needle into the bottom of your back and it shoots this like whatever into it to like burn the nerve, and you feel it burn. It's crazy. It's almost like, imagine like a flamethrower, like you got like a mini fucking ant with a flamethrower just shooting your fucking spinal cord. Like, the shit hurts so bad. But then it feels good for a little bit, but then like it's like I'm starting to feel it again, and then I gotta crack my back, and it's like it never fucking gets better. It's annoying.
Months I didn't really notice much, but I was told it would take time.
And then my shoulder too. My shoulder's all fucked up. Because I got an AC joint tear, and I've been trying to hold off surgery from it because I already had 2 surgeries on both my shoulders. I had labrum tear surgeries, and I'm like, I don't want another shoulder surgery.
I was already doing somewhat better from the 6 weeks of IVs. It's an unusual psychological space to be teetering on the precipice of hope that your whole life could change. There's a certain tension and a certain excitement that comes with that. I was also having big problems with my girlfriend at the time. I'd found out some things that had really shaken my trust. In retrospect, I should have just walked away then and there, but I held on because part of me blamed myself. In my sickness, I held people at a distance, so I felt like I deserved negative things. We would fight a lot. The health problems added a whole new dimension to something that would be hard for any couple. I couldn't trust that she loved me as much as she said she did because of certain things that I found out. A few months after the transplant, me and her decided to get away from everything and stay with a mother on the south of Spain. One night, we were sat on the grass, looking up at the sky, being surrounded by avocado and lemon trees. It felt like we were in some sort of Eden-like paradise. She asked me to marry her. It was her way of proving that she loved me and would always love me. And I said yes, but I meant no. Even when we went to pick out rings, I just felt scared. I lost the ability to trust love. I don't fully blame her for that. She was an awesome person trying to navigate a complicated situation. I blame my sickness. My sickness was an inseparable from me, and so I blame myself. After about a month of being home, she sat down with me one day and told me she decided to move to Australia for a year. She told me it wouldn't change anything between us. I had my doubts. Despite the additional stress in my life, something amazing was happening. About 4 months after the stem cell transplant, I noticed the desire to leave the house. I noticed more colour in my skin. I joined a gym that was a 3-minute walk from my house. I started working out for the first time in years. Music started pouring back into my life. I was singing more. I was producing more. And this was all leading up to my favourite chapter so far.
Chapter 8. Wow. He's just touring. Anybody that's affiliated with Ren as far as music aspects are just phenomenal. He knows how to pick them. He knows how to pick them. He knows how to bring it. Like, Ren is just... Oh my god, you hear that?
Ren, go.
They're in Brighton. Yeah, I'd never been to Brighton, but I saw something that said Brighton, so I acted very intelligent, but they're like, oh, they're in Brighton. Oh, that voice, yo.
These drugs don't work. The pain, it takes control. Blood-stained shirt. I feel like
I like those sweatpants. Where did he get those from? Those are dope.
Yo, I try to talk, but I can't seem to get my spoken words right. And I try to keep my stutter alive. And this
Oh, no, that's his jacket tied around it. I thought it was a design. I'm like, yo, that's a dope design.
it can be ish right. Got you like a flip knife. Twist and make you sick right.
Oh, I know the Cartier family. Like, I don't know them, but I've heard them before.
I redirect the calls from my phone. I learned so many lessons from depression. But in essence, I'm just wishing that these bad thoughts were gone.
If you have ED, you might need to work on your mental game. When you're aroused,
Yeah,
your
he
brain
does. He has an
releases dopamine.
amazing ear for
That
talent.
dopamine
Like,
kicks off a chain
it's crazy. Like, he could find talent. He has talent. It's like there's nothing he can't do. I've been saying that since I found his dude. Like, even in I think it was the Chapters 5, that song he sang, and how he did. Oh my God.
Wait on this verse, it's actually mad. Sometimes I guess, sometimes it's when it's like time is against me. In my mind, I kind of mind, yet on my mind it tortures me. But I shine, cause when I shine, it's like my shine, they set me free. And I rhyme, I shine so bright, these rhymes come out of me. Times I bleed, times I crawl, times I slip, times I fall. Times my back's up against the wall, so hard that the whole building could fall. Times I bruise, times I break, times I'm true, times I'm fit, times I'm up. If I'm a moment, the forward is to open and this wallet me for goodness sake. I think I'm gonna break, cause the ache and it's pain. I'm awake in the wall full of place. Blessing the break, with the brakes they break. And I'm trying my universe into a lake in the way. Wait at the world, don't wait, we make mistakes when it's all let's stay. We eat our cake, sometimes no time for double taste. But that's just the way life goes sometimes. But I don't wanna end up in the gutter being bad, but my trouble face down in the puddle where the sun don't shine. I'm coming on the back, on the track, and it's happening, it's happening, no peace, like I'm in the pain.
Oh my fucking God, bro.
Oh Lord, take this pain away.
Nah, that was nuts, man. Oh, that was crazy. That was crazy. I want to hear that again. That was nuts. Did you guys hear that?
End up in the gutter being bad, but we eat our cake, sometimes no time for double
He
taste.
spazzed out.
That's just the way life goes sometimes. But I don't wanna end up in the gutter being bad, but my trouble face down in the puddle where the sun don't shine. I'm coming on the back, on the track, and it's happening, it's happening, no peace, like I'm in the
Oh.
Oh Lord, take this pain away.
Oh my God. Nah, that was crazy. I was rocking out. That's nuts, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, he deserves applause. Y'all better clap. What the hell?
Okay, so that's a song that me and Ren wrote. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's Ren.
That's crazy, yo. Are we on the last one? That's crazy. Dude, he spazzed out on that. Why do I hear tears?
I was sat in a
never
cafe
mind.
across from a strange French man in a suit. I had to decide over a 5-minute drink if this was the man that I was going to live with for the next year of my life. A week before, I'd been sat in the same cafe with a Polish man. My friend Luke had put me in touch. Me and my girlfriend had decided to move into separate houses in hopes it would fix our crumbling relationship. The guy seemed pretty chill online, and so I'd already agreed to move in with him, This was just a little informal meet before we did. A few minutes in, I instantly regretted everything. He told me a story of how the week before he'd come home drunk and he'd pissed all over his own living room and was in hysterics about it. I laughed nervously, taking a sip of water as I imagined a future of watching Netflix shows near a carpet that stank of piss. He then went on to tell me a story of how this girl that he'd liked had rejected his advances, so he'd, in his own words, grabbed her by the pussy and she slapped him. He wasn't sure if it was going to work out between them. I was certain it wasn't going to work out between them. I didn't laugh this time. I made an excuse and I left. When I got home,
I was certain it wasn't going to turn out between them. After that bullshit, hell no. Oh, man.
And it wasn't going to work out between them. I didn't laugh this time. I made an excuse and I left. When I got home, I messaged him, making up a lie that me and my girlfriend had patched things up and she'd be moving with me instead. I had a week to find a new roommate. I was, for all intents and purposes, a loud little bugger. I'd often spend unhealthy amounts of time making beats, so the person that I moved in with needed to be able to tolerate noise. I found this Facebook group called Brighton Bands and Musicians and I posted on it. It went something like this. Hi, I'm a noisy person and I'm looking for another noisy person to live with. Enter the Frenchman. He'd moved from France in hopes of kick-starting his music career. He was working in a restaurant and busking on the streets whenever he had time. He
Wait
was
a
for the
minute,
better
is
part
this
of the
the
word.
dude from, this is the guy from The Big Push, I think? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I know I've seen that face before on one of Ren's, like, pieces of content. He got to be from The Big Push, yo. I feel like I've seen him before.
Eccentric, and at first I couldn't quite place him. The bar was set extremely low by the carpet-pissing sex offender though, so the Frenchman could have probably told me he was part of an extreme terrorist organisation and I'd probably said, "Great mate, when can you move in?" The house was only meant for two, but in true cheapskate style we found a third housemate called Tom, who was probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. Tom would go on hour-long rants about how Nicolas Cage is the world's best actor.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
And he makes a compelling case too.
I was right. I knew it.
That Frenchman was
let me
running
just hold on. I got to do more Big Push reactions. I did one reaction so far. It was the Bob Marley one. The I Shot the Sheriff, and that shit was fire. I can't wait to start doing more Big Push reactions.
We'd go on to form a band called The Big Push, and he'd become one of my closest friends. The second week we moved in together, it was his birthday, so me and Tom decided to gaffer tape about 50 baguettes and bunches of garlics to the walls and the ceilings to decorate. It was 2016 and political correctness hadn't come into full effect. He still didn't think it was very funny. My energy was only improving during this time, although progress was slow. The doctor had recommended I do a second transplant to speed things up. I returned to LA for the second time with my close friend Saran and went through the motions again. Eventually, I'd switched to their sister clinic in Frankfurt, where I entered one of the more unusual periods of my life. The UK has border regulations on certain medications and supplements. Some I shouldn't have been taking back with me. I remember fashioning a hidden compartment in my suitcase where I would smuggle IV bags full of various nutrients and immune modulating drugs over the border. I did this a few times. One drug, filgrastim, was often given to AIDS or cancer patients with low neutrophil counts. On my tests, my neutrophils were always outside of range on the lower side, so the injections would theoretically raise them. The issue was I was still broke. I don't think the doctor realised how broke. I was meant to pay for private nurse to administer the drips, but I couldn't afford it. So without telling the doctor, I taught myself how to administer an IV watching YouTube tutorial videos.
Wow.
First, it was very messy. I messed up a lot of veins trying to get the catheter to stay in. There was a lot of blood, but eventually I got the hang of it. I'd be sitting in the living room watching One Punch Man while an IV bag dripped slowly into my veins, and day by day I got stronger and stronger. The issue was I started noticing my food intolerances getting worse. The stem cells had improved my pain, energy, clarity of thought.
Can you imagine that? Like, y'all, like, you got, like, right when you hit and go back into the place where you are basically from and all that stuff, it's just the tools there are not set to help you in your condition. So literally everything is on you to have to manufacture how you take care of yourself through this condition. And it's like, because you're not a medical professional, you can only do what you could find. You're still falling behind little by little because it's like you just aren't in the place to be able to do what you need to do. That's crazy.
It worsened my ability to tolerate food, something I later learned was caused by MCAS, or mast cell activation syndrome. Some other stories also started circulating online groups of people getting far worse after the stem cell transplant. I can't say that this didn't shape me. As more time elapsed, I learned of legal cases that were opened against the clinic for malpractice. The clinic in Beverly Hills eventually shut its doors. It was hard to know how to feel about this. The doctor had been my saving grace. He'd pulled me out of a half existence, but I could see where people's frustrations were coming from. As the clinic grew in popularity, I think its resources became stretched and its communication became worse. Nonetheless, that man will always remain the third angel in my tale, and I'll always be grateful. It's hard for me to definitively recommend stem cells. I believe it's a gamble. Some got worse, but they did actually really help me. They didn't cure me, and some of my symptoms got worse, but they allowed me to be an active member of society again, and that was huge for me. A few more months passed. My girlfriend had moved to Australia, but she was being very distant with me and rarely answering calls. She broke up with me on Christmas Day while I was visiting my mum. I took it very badly, but it was also symbolically the end of one chapter and the start of the next. Despite our difficulties, I'm still grateful for the time we shared. There's always two sides to every story, and I don't imagine it was easy being with someone who was tormented by my health problems as I was during the time. I returned back to Brighton, and then I started living. For the first time in years, really living. Me, Romain and Tom would throw parties nearly every night. I didn't drink or do drugs, but I was high on being able to participate. I felt like I was living in Brighton for the first time in my life.
Wow.
I was able to walk around, to take in the city, to live. I also started getting the attention of women. During my teen years, I wasn't the best looking and I was a bit awkward. During my early 20s, I was so sick I rarely went out. So this was new for me, and I threw myself in head first. I realised that I really like pretty girls, and pretty girls apparently like boys who make music. A lot of nights I'd go out by myself around Brighton and end up meeting a whole bunch of beautiful women. One night I ended up breaking into the Hilton Hotel with a girl that I just met. We managed to get onto the roof, but we were chased down the flights of stairs by security. We ended up having sex on the beach at 2 a.m. while the tide came in.
They got security at Hilton hotels over in Brighton. I wish my Hilton hotel has security, bro.
The parties we throw would get crazier and crazier. There'd be times where everyone was half naked by the end of the night. I'd find myself in strange situations where I was having sex on a living room sofa with two girls while some random dude sat smoking a joint on a nearby table. I noticed this guy who was a friend of Romain's who kept passing out on our sofa. One time he woke up covered in scratches from this Mexican girl who had been telling the stories the night before of all the people she'd stabbed. This guy was Goran Kendall. He sang like Bob Dylan and he looked like he'd fallen out of a punk rock band. I liked him. Me, Romain and Goran were all musicians, and naturally we started jamming together. I remember the first time something clicked. We were at Goran's house with an Australian girl I'd been seeing and her friends. The night before, she'd gotten drunk and tried to strip me naked during an open mic night at the Fiddler's Elbow. I was pretty willing and we both ended up in our underwear being kicked out in fits of laughter. We decided to start working out 3-part harmonies together. We figured out a cover of Octopus's Garden by the Beatles. And not to blow our own horns, but it sounded fucking brilliant. I remember someone walking past the house and hearing from outside, and they started to clap. Eventually the three of us would busk on the streets together. We all busked separately, so it made sense. Back then, I'd occasionally drag a kick and a snare drum out with me in a wheelbarrow, and I'd drum while Goran and Romain played and sang. We would always have people come up to us and they'd ask for our band name, and we never had an answer.
Damn.
We came up with this genius idea of forming a band.
Genius.
One of us said that we should be called the Three Hats because there was 3 of us and sometimes we wore hats. One of us said, nah, that's shit. Eventually we settled on the Big Push and we got tighter and tighter. As my energy increased, I was able to do more and more. We play about 5 nights a week in various pubs and bars in Brighton for shit money. On Saturday we'd get out onto the streets and go busking. There was just one problem. I was proper shit at drumming. The universe eventually provided us with a handsome bearded Irishman and everything fell into place. I loved those boys. We were in truest sense a rock and roll band. We got banned from playing at a few venues because we'd occasionally get carried away and break a bit too many things on stage. I got a lot of bills.
Yo, they was living, bro. I mean, hell yeah, y'all gotta do something to entertain people. I mean, like, obviously the music entertains people, but what I'm saying is, like, because they weren't getting paid, like, enough for what they were doing, they had to make a name for themselves, man. Sometimes you gotta do some crazy shit. And, like, that's literally what, I don't know if, like, y'all seen, like, Eminem back in the day when he was trying to get big and everything. That's what he had to do. I remember he would be on, like, MTV and shit, just acting like crazy goof getting kicked out of clubs and shit. You got to do shit like that.
Thrown stands or charges for paint jobs where I'd sprawled the big push over the walls in permanent marker pen. Life was a bit like a movie. My ambition at the time wasn't to be the greatest band of all time or to have any kind of success. I was just so relieved to be alive and play. So every day felt like a victory.
And when I hear the big push, I think like, well, what he was saying before, him and the other two artists, Romain and I think Garin or Gari, they both were busting. They were doing busts, like doing their own. So they were pushing themselves. So if you take the three of them and put them together, that's like a big put, like the big push, because like all of them, when they were doing everything on their own, were pushing themselves to try to get, farther and farther. So it's like you were pushing yourself, I've been pushing myself. We're the big push. Like, I don't know. That's what I think. Maybe that's how they came up with it.
Despite this, I was still carrying a lot of symptoms with me. The pain in my legs never stopped. The buzzing in my feet never relented. My vision was still blurry. I'd still get days where I was so foggy that it was hard to communicate. One day after a gig with the big push, being overstimulated triggered a very temporary jolt back into psychosis, and I found myself lying on a table in the pub, repeating the same sentence over and over again for about 10 minutes, while surrounded by a very concerned group of onlookers. I came to, in tears, and I quickly left in embarrassment. If I didn't stick to my diet of about 5 different things, I'd be trapped in bed again, but it was okay. I was willing to hurt if it meant I could participate in life again, and I intended to live the fuck out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I met this beautiful Spanish girl one night after playing at a local pub, and I fell instantly in love.
Aww.
She had this beautiful blonde curly hair and was wearing dungarees, and I was enamored with her from the first moment I saw her, and she didn't make it easy, which made me like her even more. I'd write her poetry, invite her to shows, and attempt to be funny. She knew me as the local slut, which didn't really make things very easy.
Oh, man.
But with time, she could see that I genuinely cared about her, and I did, a lot. One time we snuck into a cinema together, and I proceeded
get that, but at the end of the day, you were just living, bro. Like, you didn't have that opportunity when you were younger to be able to live. And now that you have that opportunity, you had to take advantage of it. Ain't nobody blaming you.
to climb onto what I thought was the stage below the screen to put on a show for her as she sat alone in the aisles cheering. What I didn't know was that stage wasn't a stage, it was a 6-foot drop. I confidently put my feet on thin air, and then I fell, smashing my face onto the corner of a railing on the way down, seeing a flash of white light and regaining consciousness with her rolling around in fits of laughter on the floor. She was intelligent, creative, unusual and beautiful. I carried a lot of trauma with me into that relationship. Relationships generally didn't feel safe for me. She was briefly diagnosed with BPD, which later turned out to be a misdiagnosis, and I had major trust issues from my last relationship, which had grown into commitment issues. It was a bit of a recipe for disaster, but we loved each other very intensely and very dysfunctionally until we...
Say less, man. Yo, I don't ever talk about shit like this, but when I was 23, I was engaged to this girl, and we just literally bought a house, and I was like, man, 23 years old, owning a home in America, that's pretty big. But anyways, I was like working really hard to pay the mortgage and stuff, and I remember I was working a PM shift at my hotel, and she went out and cheated on me with like her first ex. She had a lot of insecurity issues. So, like, literally on New Year's, I'm doing a PM and she goes and cheats on me, lies to me, shares the bed, and acted that night with me. Like, yo, man, that amount of betrayal was just so, like, I don't even like getting into it. I was so mad, man. I made this song, and it was called Lust, and yo, I still have that shit. It was so funny, man. I fucking was so pissed off. It was the craziest song I think I ever, like, it was the most aggressive song I think I ever made. Like, I can't explain the feeling of being cheated on just because she was bored and I was going to work to try to build a family for us. It was like, I can't even explain it. I mean, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as what my son's mother did to me, but still, it was bad enough.
Couldn't. I wish I'd been able to surrender. It was a bit Sid and Nancy, very dramatic to say the least, and I won't get into it for her sake. but it was beautiful, and I loved her very much. It taught me a lot. I learned that the echoes of the past had shaped me into something that I struggled to be. I envied the people who could jump into relationships and feel safe or content. I wondered if it was because I had to watch my mum and dad fighting till their marriage crumbled when I was a kid. If it was because I'd learned as a child that I had to be independent because external love was inconsistent. I wondered if it was because I'd been too late to save Joe. I wondered if it was because I was forced to live most of my adult life in isolation. I wondered if it was to do with my past relationships. I didn't know, but I felt confused and I felt angry with myself. I knew I wanted to surrender to love, to feel truly worthy of it, but every time I tried, I feel discontent and unsettled, like the security of love was something I wanted to escape. The thought of ending up in a white picket fence house with my perfect family felt like prison. After 8 long years of being tethered to a body in pain, I wanted to be liberated from any sort of attachment. Any sort of predictability of the future after a life of torturous monotony made my stomach feel like I'd swallowed cinder blocks.
See, I never tried to get to that point because I feel like if you just detaching yourself from everything, like what purpose are you giving yourself? And obviously, I think he's in the same boat too, because he's saying he felt like that, but at the same time, he wasn't trying to do that. And like, I don't know, like for me, it's like if I was fully detached from everything, my son, my family, like, what is my purpose here? So like, I guess I asked myself that a lot back in the day, and I can understand that, like just wanting to detach yourself from everything, but at the end of the day, it's not the answer. I'm not saying like fully attaching yourself and obsessing over things, but healthy attachments are important to have. We're all human, and communicating with one another is very important. And being able to have that experience and be able to better dissect, who you run into and all that stuff is very important. Because if you don't, no human is really... People could say, oh yeah, we're good alone, but like, no, you're not. At the end of the day, you want a little bit of interaction. You want to have some kind of something in your life. It's very important to your mental health.
When I felt someone's love, I had to fight the urge to run and keep moving, but paradoxically still desperately wanted to be loved. And I loved to love, and I loved her. That discontent was something that stuck with me, and it hasn't made relationships easy. Around 2018, I'd reconnect with Sam. He was in his 20s now, so I felt far less weird about hanging out with a teenage boy. During this time, we wrote a few songs together. Blind Eyed, What Went Wrong, and Same Old Situation. All bangers, by the way. It was April, and we were shooting a video for What Went Wrong. We were using my friend Josh's car, and there was a scene where we needed a smashed up bonnet. But it went outside of the budget we had to pay for the video, so me and Sam decided to go busking to raise the money. I promise what follows is the truth. We'd never rehearsed Blind Eyed live before, but while we were out on the street, I turned to him and I asked if we should play it. I started playing the first chord that made sense without even thinking. It started in B minor in this kind of reggae way that was totally different to the original recording. Somehow, it was totally fucking magic. The whole street stopped. Sam was hitting notes and runs that seemed outside of the reach of a mere mortal. Luckily, Sam Perry-Falvey, who films the videos, was with us, and he captured the whole thing on camera.
Wow. Am I about to hear this?
Before this moment, I kind of surrendered to the fact I probably wouldn't have a career in music again. I was doing it for me. I was doing it to celebrate being alive. The week after the video shoot, me and Sam decided to go busking again because it had felt so good. Someone filmed us covering a version of Vera Hall's Trouble So Hard. Posted it to a Mexican restaurant page on Facebook. It was the first thing that I'd done since returning to the land of the living that went viral, and it went very viral. It started being shared everywhere by millions of people. 2 weeks after that, another cover of us performing was circulating the internet. That went viral too. By the time we released the busking version of Blind Eyed, the internet went crazy.
Yeah.
My social media following started exploding. People like Elton John were talking about us on the radio. People would fly in from all over the world just to watch us perform on the street. By the end of summer 2018, we were shutting down entire high streets because of the volume of people coming to watch us perform. There was something magic about the synergy of me and Sam that stopped people in their tracks. We were being tagged in videos from all over the world of people listening to Blind Eyed. People were listening from war zones, from rocket launch sites, from deep in jungles. It was surreal, and it was incredibly affirming. It was a second chance, and I didn't think I'd get a second chance. The shared out with Sam was special. A lot happened after that. More love, more heartbreak, more health complications, more healing, more setbacks, more parties, more medications, sold out shows, frustrations with the music industry, betrayals, theft, friends lost to addiction. My health would take me on more journeys into foreign countries, #1 albums, awards, a pandemic, meeting idols, making money, losing money. But I'll save all that for another time. It's fitting that this story ends here. Trouble So Hard by Vera Hall has always resonated with me very deeply. She was the daughter of a slave, navigating a hostile 1940s America, something I'll never be able to relate to. The pain and simplicity of the line, "Don't nobody know my troubles but God," was one that seemed universal to all struggles. And it was a line I was always deeply connected to. If there is a God, I want to thank you for giving me the resilience to be able to sit down here and to tell my story today. I hope it's far from over, and I hope that this is just chapter 1. Thank you, everybody, for giving me the space to share my story with you. For everybody still in the dark, trust, hope, and dare to dream that you can get out of it too. I love you all, and thank you for supporting me like you have.
Aww. Aww. That was very sweet. Wow. I thought he was going to close with a song, so I was like, well, I kind of like that he didn't close with a song, because his storytelling is just so brilliant. Like, just the way he can just get into it. Like, I could listen to him talk like that for, like, it's funny, because, like, my kids, when they go to sleep, so, like, my son, he goes to bed to, like, regular, like, lullaby music because he's 4. My stepson, he goes to bed to, like, some crazy gaming reaction videos of like Sonic and some adults playing it, just like, yeah, let's go get him, blah, blah. I'm like, how do you sleep to this? But his voice is soothing, and the way that he speaks is so calm and just, has like a smooth way of telling a story. I could just like fall asleep. Literally, like, if I could have Ren as like my AI voice from my phone, I would, because like the way his voice is just so calming, and it's like. And I like and like the words he uses and stuff. I can't explain it. Like he's very direct, and at the same time very visual when he's like talking about something. I could definitely listen to him doing that. So I like that he did that at the end. Dude, Chapters is it's a really big eye opener to the beginning of everything that he has gone through. And the fact that he's still going through it to this day is just sad as hell. Like somebody in the comments was saying that he just had to do another stem cell thing in Mexico. And I'm like, bro, like how much more of this does he have to go through? I'm literally praying. Oh, wait, it's not done? What did I miss? What did I miss? Is there more?
Pew, pew, pew.
What? Wait, hold on. I gotta watch this now.
Hope and dare to dream that you can get out of it too. I love you all, and thank you for supporting me like you have. Pew, pew, pew.
What the hell? That was funny. Well, when he did the head, no, so just don't stop it. When he did the hands up thing, I just thought it was done. I was like, all right. I didn't want it to go to some dumb ad, but then I was like, wait a minute, there's more? And then it's just so pew pew pew. That is so funny. That's hilarious. I mean, I like Ren though. Like, I mean, just seeing a little bit more about his story now. What I really like about the chapters is like he would be going through some like really deep intentional story talking, and he would just slide a joke in there so nonchalantly. Like he would just be talking and he would just be like he was like, oh, by the way, like, he was talking when he was talking about getting his rectal area like washed or whatever or something like that, and then he was like, oh yeah, by the way, that actually felt good. I'm just like, you're going through some serious stuff, and you just have this way of putting it into like where it doesn't seem like it's as bad for a minute, and it just kind of gives the audience like somewhat of like a 3 to 4 second relief of everything that you're talking about, which I thought was like, really, that's crazy. But yeah, I really, like, somebody else said that they hope that he does chapters. I hope he does chapters too, man. Like, I hope like more chapters, like, cause it is very interesting, his story, and if he's still going through it, like, are you finding more solutions? Are things getting better? How is your blood work? Like, I'm actually interested to see how that is. Like, obviously, I don't want to sound too nosy, but I'm already really into the inner parts of his life now, like with these chapters. So, like, I'd really like to know, is your health better? Like, because at the end of the day, I'm sure everybody cares and would like to know that. We want to see that he's getting better, hopefully, or he's coming around, which would be great. If they are able to put him in recovery, that would be the greatest thing ever. And there would be some crazy album coming with that. And this guy amazes me every video. I'm always finding new stuff about him. It's just he's an amazing guy. Let me see. I can't wait for BTS on his upcoming TVP tour and his solo 3 shows. He still has relapses on. Damn. Relapses, like, wait, like, oh, because he said he used to do pills and stuff. So you mean relapses with, like, drugs and stuff? Can't wait for BTS. I can't wait to see all that stuff too. I can't wait to see this new Tails thing that he's supposed to be putting out too. He's been sharing that. I really like watching his Instagram stories though. Like I was saying earlier, when he was doing the Dr. Dre sampling from the Tyree song, that was really cool. Oh, his health relapses. Yes. Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like, I really, really am praying that they find a way to put him into recovery to where he doesn't have to relapse and to where he's good and he's like finding longevity to healing from what he had. All I could do was pray, but hopefully something good happens to him going forward. But anyways, guys, it was really a pleasure doing this with you guys, this chapters, and obviously we're going to be doing a lot more Ren reactions, Big Push reactions. I mean, obviously I want to do other artists too. I have to plan time to do that. Also what I also want to do is I have a couple of plans going forward. Like, I'm going into certain things with creating my new album. I'm going to start with an EP. I'm also going to start doing some lives where I'm mixing in Logic and I'm just kind of doing things and creating content with everybody. Let people make recommendations of things that they want me to do. And I may do like some freestyles if somebody sends me like an instrumental to even one of Ren's songs and say, oh, do a remix over this. Like, I'm just, I do want to show Ren some love because Ren is becoming a big inspiration to me. Like, ever since I've been watching him, I've been like having this urge to write more. So, and I've been watching chapters. I'm able to relate, I feel, a lot to him in certain things. And I feel like with Ren, what he was going through health-wise, there's like a weird mirroring aspect of things that I was going through mentally and physically as a child and growing up. A lot of things I don't really talk about. So I was actually writing this whole album about my Inferno, and it was just so hard to write. And there were certain songs I kind of pulled that were very personal about like child abuse and everything when I was a child and things I was going through that I didn't really want to talk about. And now I'm just kind of like, Ren has really inspired me to have second thoughts about certain songs and certain things that I was pulling back from. So now I'm just kind of like, man, I really should drop this. Like, if Ren can do it, shit, anybody can. Like, Ren has been through hell and back, and he's still fighting. And, man, like, people really should be a little more vocal and ready to put their messages up front to the world, because there's people out there that need to hear that stuff so they don't feel alone, so they don't feel like, they're ready to jump on the rope and all that. Like, it's crazy. But anyways, let me know what y'all thought about these chapters. Let me know what y'all thoughts are about Ren and everything, and like what y'all think that, like, hoping if Ren does another chapters, if you have any other reactions. Yeah, like I'm probably gonna do a challenge and see whoever puts like a certain amount on a super thanks, I'll be able to do that. There'll be a first priority for like a Ren reaction of whatever song. So I was thinking of doing something like that too. I had a lot of ideas I just been brainstorming with because this is all new to me. But yeah, I hope everybody has a great. I'm guessing it's almost daytime by you guys because it's nighttime over here. So it's probably early morning by y'all. So I hope everybody, you could do both the original video and acoustic of a double as a double feature. Somebody got to send me that. My Instagram is and all that is on my description. So if somebody could send me that what they would want me to do, like a recommendation, I would gladly do it, yo. Give me some time. I mean, I'm going through it with my job right now. It's holiday season, and I'm most likely not going to be able to spend any holidays with my family because, like, literally 3 full-timers in my job have basically just dropped out of my department, and I'm just kind of stuck here working all these overnights trying to figure all this out. So I've been going through that, and I was like, I originally wasn't even going to do this tonight, and I was like, man, I need to. I was like, I'm very committed to this. I'm very committed to being able to do this for you guys and to being able to have some time for me to be able to watch and learn about Ren and go down the Ren rabbit hole. I really wasn't going to do it at first, and I was just like, nah, I need to. I was so exhausted. Like, I slept like 4 hours today because I just been working, like, I'm hoping I don't end up doing 80-hour weeks, but literally 3 Troubles double feature. That's for, oh, okay, so that's a reaction you guys want. Okay. So I got to look into that. I'm going to add that to my playlist for reactions. But yeah, no, I'm going to do that, the whole reactions things. I'm going to do a challenge. Like, we get to super thanks, and I just put the what is it? You have been killing it. Do this on your own time and pace, and we're here. I appreciate y'all, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna try to be committed to it because I care about y'all, and I know you guys are out here, and I know how important, especially Ren is to you. I hope there's other artists I can do that you guys would be interested in too. I'm really into hip hop in general. Like, I love Ren, and I like how I can be more versatile with Ren. Like, I can go out of hip hop because I'm a big music fanatic. I did go to school for music. I used to record in the Les Paul studio a lot, and but Ren is very versatile, which I like. So I like how I can go into the Big Push, Ren, and it seems like he did a lot of stuff with this guy Sam. Hopefully, there's other content I could find with that too. But I want to do more Ren, and I want to do other artists too. I just got to find other ones because some of the artists I've been doing haven't really been clicking. Like, Kendrick is like a little bit, it clicks here and there. Tupac clicks. Eminem is just like everybody's gonna come to see Eminem, but it's like it's not the same. What I like about Ren's people is the Ren fans are more personal. They're ready to go, ready to respond. They have more of a connection to Ren as an artist externally. They are not scared to be up front about it. I feel like with Eminem, there's so much controversy and people talking about him in a negative aspect to where there's stands that are out there and ready to go. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, like, it's different with reaction videos. Eminem has been so far up there for so long now. It's been like 20 some years, as to where Ren is like, we want to get him to that stature. We got to do it together as reactors. We got to do it together as people who support Ren to get him and his numbers to climb and climb and climb to be up there. NF, yeah, you know what? I tried NF. I got to do a little more NF. Somebody did say stuff. But yeah, NF is somebody I can get into. I did 2 NF songs, but also I did the last 2 NF songs, and it seems like NF is just kind of on his way out the door. From what and maybe not, maybe he'll come back with that song. But from what I saw in the last 2 songs, it was like he was putting himself down. I really like I like Joyner Lucas. I really like Jid. I'm trying to think of other artists that I like to do. there's a lot of them out there. I like a lot of boom bap too. Like I like a lot of old school hip hop music. Like obviously I do Tupac reactions. I love this guy. His name is Master Ace. He's amazing and he's well known in the UK. Like I actually did a song with Master Ace and it charted in the UK like really like on the bottom of the chart for like maybe like the first couple days and then it fell off, but it was really cool to see that. I had a lot of UK people listen to me. It was like really cool. And that made me like, and I didn't even know at the time when I first did Ren's reaction that he was from the UK. And then I found out, I was like, oh, wow, the UK is popping. Like, I don't know, like maybe Skepta I could do. I don't know if Skepta, like some people, like there was like a feud going on between Skepta and Joyner Lucas. I know that, but I did see Skepta on there. I don't know if he's that big in the UK, but I've heard things about him. I was like, maybe I should look more into his rabbit hole too. But if y'all know other UK artists, I'm definitely interested in it because Ren has totally changed my perspective. And I feel like Ren is probably top UK versatile pop hip hop artist out there right now, at least. But yeah, if y'all have any other recommendations for other artists too, just send them my way. I'll be more than happy to see it. All right, man, but I'm going to go get some sleep. I slept like a couple hours today. We out, though. I'll try to do some other videos in the morning and set them up for y'all. All right, man.